One of the fundamental problems and inevitable paradoxes from which humanity or man and women always suffer from and struggle with is not necessarily their lack or absence of temperance, modesty, moderation, control, reason, independent thinking, behavior, sovereign action. It's not our lack or absence of self knowledge, self sufficiency, self discipline, self respect, but it's our imagination, anxiety, and overthinking that gives birth to and creates evils, problems, situations, circumstances that do not necessarily exist in reality, that are neither real nor valid nor reasonable. But because we overthink, because the mind has a tendency to amplify as well as to multiply all the evils, burdens, troubles, miseries, depressions, which it has ever been through, which it has ever had. It multiplies all that inside of the present situation also, and in the future it will continue to multiply and amplify our problems which exist in the present or which was real in the past, because the mind cannot live without meaning, significance, relevancy, validation, worthwhileness, and the mind certainly does not and cannot exist without not only the creation of problems that don't exist, but also the amplification and multiplication of the kind of imaginary, subjective problems, troubles, crises, evils that it creates by itself in one way or another. And that happens in men and women that obviously cannot control their own thinking. Men and women that refuse or that fail to control, domesticate, moderate, discipline their powers, faculties, talents, or negative energy will be ultimately controlled and governed by all of those good and bad things in one way or another. They will become inevitable victims of not only external control, outside oppression, and basically public criticisms, governments, barriers, obstacles, but also because of the lack of control over their own mind in one way or another. Because obviously we suffer more often in imagination than in reality, and more often we are frightened than hurt. And imagination, anxiety, overthinking becomes the root cause and the primary sources of our suffering than the real life conditions and genuine circumstances that happens because the collective unconscious as well as the conscious men and women in one way or another. Because reality is the composition of particularly the mass and herd, and basically the group mentality, action, behavior, choice, they decide reality. But then again, evils are not always real, but we create all that with the overthinking, with the philosophizing, the evils which have never happened, and that is the pain we have caused ourselves. That is self betrayal also in one way or another. So we must talk, we must have the capacity for